This
What's
is
up?
your first beardless podcast.
This is my first beardless podcast.
Welcome to the Evan and Katelyn podcast, the podcast where not having a beard is very significant and important news.
All right, so in today's episode, we're going to go back a little bit towards where we started out. It's just going to be the two of us chatting, no interviews, nothing special.
Game.
We're playing a game. Yeah, and the topic of today is podcast. I almost said video. We've just been in video land, and it takes a second to switch. But the topic of today's podcast is going to be something we've gotten a few questions about, like what our day is like, how long we spend editing videos or working on projects or etc. and what like our life looks like as full-time content creators.
Yeah, kind of a day in the life type of thing. And we can answer some of the most common questions that we get.
It's more like days in the lives, because like there is no set routine.
No.
There's not like, what does your day look like? Well, it completely depends on where we are in the project, what type of day it is, and what we have scheduled. It changes so much day to day. So I thought we'd start with our favorite part and our least favorite part of what we do.
Like the different tasks and stuff?
Yeah. Like what is our, like, if like, and let's take away stress and time pressure and all of that out of the equation. Like, I mean, it's hard to do that, but let's try to imagine.
Okay. My favorite two things are kind of, I guess it's good that these are my favorite because they're two of the main things that we do, but oh no, I'm going to expand it now as I'm talking about it. Oh, this is really hard. It started out as 2, now it's like 4.
What's your favorite thing? Well, my top 4 favorite things are.
Well, it's like I like everything that is directly related towards making the content. So like filming our videos, doing these podcasts, doing streaming, and editing the videos. That's a lot of things. And
but it's like the favorite part of your job is the actual part that people think of, and not all of the things that go along with it.
Oh, that's my least favorite part. So that's the answer to the other question is all
like the emails, the planning, the scheduling, the logistics, all that jazz.
Like dealing with planning and sponsor logistics are probably my least favorite. And it's not so much in terms of like, oh, we have to do an ad read and I dislike doing the ad read. It's more like all the back and forth and planning and scheduling, and if something has to be rescheduled,
it's like the loss
stressful.
It's like almost like the loss of freedom that comes along with that.
A little bit, yeah. It just requires a lot more forward thinking and scheduling, and it's kind of like the managerial side of this.
I think. Oh no! Now, what's your least favorite? Oh, yeah,
that was my least favorite.
All right, I'm going to cheat too.
What's your least favorite?
I'm going to split mine into 2 also. My favorite part of what we do is we end up with something tangible, and we end up with 2 somethings tangible. We end up with like, I'm looking up here at the clocks we just did, or one of the clocks we did, and that just makes me so happy seeing it. Cool. I'm so proud of what we made, and that just is something that will last with us for the longest time. We're at the desk, this wonderful, wonderful desk. And that makes me happy. All of these things we've made make me happy. I like having something to show for my time in general, you know? And I think my other favorite part is somewhat...
Oh, you were saying that we end up with 2 things. The other thing,
the
video,
other thing
right?
is the video, yeah. And I love looking back at all of the other videos, old videos that we've made, and they keep on like making people happy or inspiring people, and they're fun for even us to look back and watch.
It's fun to see how things have changed and what things were like that we still do.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that was the first time we did that. Oh, that's when we realized that we want to move in this direction, or what have you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And then my other second favorite thing, besides making something somewhat tangible, is just learning new things and experimenting in the shop and just growing our skills, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that we haven't had that many times to do this, but I actually kind of like it when there aren't any cameras and we can just make in a way.
That's very rare. And that's interesting to me, because I feel like usually if we're at a point in the project where we're making stuff and we're not filming it, it's because like
time pressure.
So it's like, well, we don't have time to film it because I need to be working on the edit. So you're just going to go sand for a few hours.
Yeah. Now, usually the part where I get stuck with is like the sanding.
Yeah.
That's not really my favorite part.
But I could see how some things like you can just put on a podcast.
Yeah,
and
just
get
put
in
on a
the zone.
podcast to get in the zone. I kind of liked it in, back when we were making products too, when we just got in the zone and we were just making products and stuff.
I can see that because I did like that too.
That was nice too. But, I actually thought of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast.
You're just as I was about to say you were going to say one other thing that was your favorite, and I was like, oh, you're just as bad as me.
I'll finish up this segment. The least favorite thing is all the administrative stuff. Yes, but like the thing that I've also thought about is I'm not sure how much of that we can hand off, because I mean, okay, I'm going to steal a little bit of Casey Neistat's logic here too, because he kind of talked about this a little bit. There's only so much that someone else can do, because anything that's an easy decision, just delete, archive, move away, whatever, like someone else can handle that, but that's not what our time goes into. Our time goes into making the decisions, discussing it between ourselves, figuring out the negotiations, all of that other stuff. That's what takes the longest time. And that's not something you can really delegate, because we still want to make those decisions.
I think if you're at the scale of like Casey Neistat, then having someone that could make those easy decisions for you does still save you time, because you still have to like go through reading a thing to make a decision on it, But there's other stuff too that we could, I feel, outsource at some point. Yeah. That it doesn't really require any decision making, like doing closed
service.
Captions.
Oh, closed captions, yeah. A lot of things like that.
Yeah, or like customer service for the merch and stuff like that.
So there is definitely something that
there's hope.
There's hope.
Sorry, now we do all of it.
But I think also part of it is we're still figuring it out. Like even with merch, figuring out our policies on when things get lost or get damaged or all sorts of things like that. We have to. I'd want to do every job and then pass it off with an understanding of what it takes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, no, but going back to the one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast is because I thought it might be a fun time capsule in a way of what our lives are like right now, because we don't capture the behind the scenes too much in any like fixed way, in any like permanent way. We're just making these videos, but what goes on behind the scenes just isn't recorded really, just because it's kind of boring. I mean, we're going to make it interesting to you guys. We're going to share stories and it's going to be great.
Yep. But great job selling it.
It doesn't make for the best visual content.
No.
I think it's very interesting from a story point of view. But
I do wish that we had recorded something like that when we first started.
Yeah.
Like when we still had our jobs.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary of the channel.
Soon.
In 2 days from today. So yesterday when this podcast comes out. Sunday.
Yeah, so yesterday.
Sunday the 24th is our 2-year, I almost said reunion. Anniversary.
It will be our 2-year reunion. The two of us will be together 2 years after we started the channel.
Yes. Yeah, that's
funny.
crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do one of these each year.
Yeah, well, if we did one of these each year around the year mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-year check-in.
I wonder if
the yearly check-in.
Yeah, the yearly check-in.
Maybe we can title this podcast like "What Our Life Is Like 2 Years In."
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh.
That's very good. I like it.
I like it a lot. We are very strange people.
So should we get into it? What is our life like 2 years into doing YouTube?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that let's start with the beginning of what a project is like for us. It all kind of starts with a planning and supplies day.
Yeah. And in an ideal world, Evan is starting the planning while I'm editing the previous video. That doesn't always happen. But when we're on top of things, that's what happens.
Yeah, but when I remember when we were first starting out with creating content on YouTube, the planning, getting supplies day always felt like the day just disappeared and we didn't get anything done. And that was so frustrating. But I'm glad that now we realize that this is an important part of the project.
Well,
you
because we
can't
used
just start.
we used to say, especially because, we could only work on evenings and weekends because we both work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So we used to say like, okay, Saturday, we're going to start the project. And then Saturday would come and we would buy a bunch of supplies and we would do a bunch of planning and we wouldn't actually film anything. And we'd be like, man, I'm so mad we didn't get to start the project. But now we've gotten to a point where like, and we still have to remind ourselves of this sometimes, but we've gotten to the point where if all we do is buy all the supplies and come up with a plan, that's still the project, just because we didn't film anything or actually put anything together.
Yeah, and sometimes the planning can take a long time. Like if I'm 3D modeling something in advance, that takes a long time. If we don't know what to get, like I mean, I already told you guys the saga I went down with this camera for a day and a half. But like similar things happen with like, we just got a pressure pot in, and I put hours worth of research into like and I should have maybe just bought the really expensive one, but I put a lot of time and effort into finding a pressure pot that is safe, that has good ratings and reviews. It has all the features that we want, and it's affordable enough that if we get it, then other people who watch our videos can also get it. It's like finding that right balance that'll be good for us and our future content.
What's interesting?
A lot goes into those decisions.
What's interesting is planning days used to look a lot different than they do now, though. Now, a lot of our projects are more involved. They're more complicated, and there's a lot more planning about the project itself. We're trying. I mean, we've always been trying lots of new things, but I feel like we just keep branching out and adding new complications. But we don't really...
Oh, sorry.
Nope,
sorry.
Twitch
sorry.
notification.
There's always at least one during a
time.
podcast, and then I turn it down.
But we don't really plan too much for the video itself, aside from maybe like an intro skit. But before, almost all of the planning was for the video.
Right.
We wrote out every single scene and every line of the voiceover. Like we basically would write out the voiceover because we were doing instructional stuff. And then I would come up with what needed to be filmed for each scene. And
we planned everything.
We planned everything. I mean, other stuff made it in just because the cameras happened to be rolling and we happened to capture something. But we planned every shot.
Wow. That's
weird,
crazy.
right?
But
It's
we were
so
doing
different.
more basic projects.
Yeah, but our projects were way more basic. It was like, buy this letter silicone mold and pour concrete into it.
That's it.
Project done. Add handles to your dresser. Project done. Cut a piece of wood and put a hole in it. Cutting board.
It's so true. Now we're like, let's make a full-size desk with storage and LEDs and resin and aluminum.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with simple projects, and we still like doing simple ones sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's just I think all of our focus and energy had to go into the thing that was the newest, which was the video. And because we didn't want too many variables and unknowns, we started with pretty easy projects.
Yeah.
So that the
and
main
that was
variable,
so smart.
I think so too. I think that was smart. Yeah.
Start with those simple ones.
Yeah.
And work your way up as you level up. I need to stop talking about leveling up. I talk about that way too much.
It's okay.
But that's just how my brain thinks.
It's okay. That's how my brain thinks too.
A video game character in my own game of life.
Yes.
Yeah. So planning and filming, or planning and supplies day, is a big part of things. And as we go through these days, we're going to kind of go through like the main different genres of days, and then we're going to talk about things we do like every day, things we overlap and mix, and all of the miscellaneous things.
Sounds very exciting. You want to continue?
So exciting. Okay, let's continue. Filming days. This is like when we've been at the computer for too long and we feel like we haven't been moving. Filming day feels so good.
It's such a relief.
We're going again. We're doing the thing that our job is.
Though I don't know about you, like getting started on the video for me is so hard. Every time.
It's like jumping into a cold pool.
Yeah, every time I'm like, man, how
are we going to do this?
How do we like plan what to shoot, and like do we say funny things?
Once we're into it, we're good.
But just like
but also, I mean, let's talk about like back end YouTube stuff real quick. The first like 10 seconds of a YouTube video are the most important part of the whole video.
That's when most people jump ship.
Yeah, that's when most people jump ship. We see, go from 100% down a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And if we can stop people at like 75% retention.
Yeah.
And keep the line there. Hold the line.
Yeah, hold the line. Hold the door.
And I think part of it is because YouTube autoplays things. It like autoplays the next thing, or you swipe to the next thing on accident, and it's just playing, and people are like trying to get out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that some portion of that initial dropout are just like,
I think so too.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops. I didn't want to watch 2 videos.
Yeah.
You just have to make an intro. You just have to make an intro that's good enough that they're like, okay, I guess I have to stay on the couch and watch another video. Oh no,
woe is me. But that puts a lot of pressure
on the beginning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It is. I think part of it is the pressure of making the intro good, but part of it is also at the beginning, you're kind of thinking about, okay, how do we set up this project? How do we explain that it's relevant without doing too much talking in the beginning? How do we get to the action soon enough that we're like making stuff early?
Because we can't, like, for us, we don't want to just jump in and just start hammering things right away. You know?
We want to like set it up because we're trying to tell a story too.
Yeah.
But then if you're talking too long and not doing anything interesting.
But but you also want to like set expectations and tone for the whole entire video.
Yeah.
You do that right at the beginning. That's why we want to show ourselves, because a lot of our content is kind of like around us in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and we might introduce humor and stuff. Yeah.
We're a pretty prominent part of our videos, and it's not just how to make a thing.
Yeah.
It's like us being goofy making a thing. So we have to make sure we establish that in the beginning so that people aren't like, I wanted to actually get the step-by-step instructions to do this, and I'm disappointed because you misled me.
It's like expectation management. You want the thumbnail and the title and that initial presentation of the video to all match and merge into something good that'll pull people in. There's a lot riding on the intro, and
but
it's
I feel like
hard.
once we do the intro, it's like
then we just go
smooth sailing, so good
until things fail. But that's part of it too.
But that usually, unless there's time pressure and the failure is going to cause us to have to like order something and then we're running late and then we have to stay up. I don't mind things failing because it does make for interesting content when it fails.
And ideally, I mean, some of the days when we just like film all day long, we get a little bit extra tired.
Yeah.
I mean, so most days, if in an ideal day, we would only film for 4 hours. No, not 4 hours. Like 6 hours.
Like half a day-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. And
like 4 to 6.
Oh, we should give some more context to like what our day. For most days, our schedule is this: we wake up at 8-ish, 8:30.
I wake up at like 8 to 8:30.
Wake up, I said.
You are like a good hour later.
No.
Yes.
I am doing comments from bed. We wake up at around 8-ish, and then depending on the day, we either eat breakfast or don't, who knows, and then we work until 11.
You're just given the basic skeleton?
Yeah, the basic skeleton
that all of this falls within?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so you talked about breakfast, you don't talk about lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Don't want to go into all of the minutia, but like in terms of like how long we work per day, it's like pretty much we wake up, we take breaks for eating, but most days we work almost all day. We generally try to take like some time away from our meal, or like during our meals we like to watch some sort of content, and then once or twice a day we like to go for a walk.
Usually only once. Usually 0 to 1, depending on
0 to 1
how crazy things
are. The other day we went for a walk twice.
I know. Usually the walks are at like midnight because we've been working until midnight and we can't sleep, so we need to
the wind down.
Yeah, we need to take like a lap around the neighborhood to wind down.
Yeah.
So are we gonna go into, because that's kind of like the framework for each day, but filming days, editing days, I mean, we can, are we gonna
let's
walk
dive
through
into
a
each
day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, here, let's dive through each one, because they're mainly tied together.
how about you just start? Because I'm not sure how you want to structure this. Because when I think day in the life, I think like we wake up around this time, we do this, then we do this,
let's do that at the end. Let's talk about the types of days.
Okay.
And then we'll go through a day.
Okay. Just setting expectations, my own included.
All right. So ideally we would film for part of the day, then edit. But oftentimes we need full days of editing because Katelyn works best when she can sit down and take a big chunk of time for an edit, and that's when she gets most efficient. So why don't you tell them about your editing days? Because we kind of have two totally different editing days. While Katelyn's editing, I'm doing miscellaneous stuff, but people have lots of questions about your editing.
Yeah, well, it's hard because I don't really think of it as like editing days. It's just like editing every spare moment that we're not filming.
But recently you've had a few like editing days.
I have. So normally I actually prefer to edit the same way we do videos where it's like a half day at a time because my ideal thing is we film for half a day and then I edit that content for the rest of the day.
Yeah, because then you can keep the tone and like the
it's just better
flow and the feeling and everything going into the next one.
It's not really that because the tone and the flow and the feeling are typically kind of similar.
Yeah, true.
It's more about like the pacing. Like if, so for example, just using the clock video we just did, like 2/3 of the video. So much time was spent just, experimenting on the tiles with the alcohol inks. And we were in such a rush to do this one that we just kept going and just kept going and just kept going. And I had so much stress because I was like, we haven't even gotten to the actual clock part of it. Like turning it into a clock. And I have no idea how much of the edit is going to be just us playing around with alcohol inks,
Yeah.
And then when you don't know how much time in the video is going towards that, you don't know how much detail to film and talk about for the rest of it. So if I can edit as I go, I know, how deep we are into the video, what the pace is like, if we should spend more time talking about next stuff or if we need to like speed through it.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, like, while we're in the middle of a project, we have no clue whether it's a good video.
No. Very rarely do we know.
Very rarely.
And I feel like I usually think it's going to be bad.
there's definitely some self-doubt that goes on. But it's it's because whether or not the project is going well has no bearing on whether the video is good.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, I mean, usually days where I'm editing, it's my main focus and I have to like put in my headphones and get in the zone and I don't know. I mean, it's hard to talk about editing because I don't really know what to say about it. People sometimes ask for like editing tips videos and stuff, but I just keep messing with things until it feels right.
Yeah, I can maybe give some insight because I kind of see you
like too
over
deep
there.
into it.
Too deep into it.
I just rewatch things a lot.
So I think that there are certain scenes that are pretty easy to edit, like montages.
So easy.
So easy. You can just kind of like, and Katelyn even sometimes takes it a step farther by timing the cuts to the music.
Always.
But like montages are pretty easy because you just kind of like place B-roll shots in order with music. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like your easiest level of
that's the easiest editing,
content to do.
Yeah.
Then the next easiest is just like when we're kind of explaining something and then doing it, and then or like like the kind of like we're cutting the wood, we're doing this, like the kind of general steps. And I think the main thing that adds the complication is all of the talking we do.
Evan
it's
was
complicated.
Doing our closed captions this morning, and he was like, "Man,
we talk a lot."
Yeah, no, we do. Well, I would say to expand on that
because like the in the moment things we say and how you cut them really tells the story. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes our videos stand out some is because we do have that in the moment storytelling because we've kind of trained ourselves to have that like rolling dialogue with the camera and with the audience. And I think that adds a lot to the videos, but also adds a lot to the editing. Yeah,
that is hard because, especially if we are just keeping that rolling dialogue and we're just talking constantly, sometimes we'll we'll say something and then we'll refer to it later, but I've cut out the thing we said that we're referring to, and then it doesn't make sense, and I have to do some like sentence magic and talking reworking and story reworking. And that usually happens when we're running the camera for a long time. So if we're doing a resin pour and the camera's just running and capturing the whole thing. If we're, like you said, if we're just picking up the camera, saying something to the camera and then going into a montage, that's very, very easy. But when the camera's just rolling, there's just so much content and there's so much banter, and some of it's good, some of it's not good. You know? And that is definitely difficult. Another difficult thing, this is probably the most difficult actually, is when we, for whatever reason, can't film things in order.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to...
Because we don't remember what was said when. And if we were just doing a voiceover with B-roll or whatever,
we could figure it out later.
We could just figure it out later. Just splice things in the order that makes sense and just tell the story later. But since we try to tell the story as we go, if we do things in the wrong order, we don't say the things that we need to transition. And then Katelyn's left with shenanigans, either just like text on screen or additional voiceover or what have you. Yeah.
So we try to, I guess this is kind of going back to filming days, we try to prioritize keeping things in order if we can, but sometimes
even if things are more efficient to be done another way.
Yeah, when we can. Yeah. But sometimes there's just like, okay, we have 20 hours worth of 3D prints that need to be made. We have to just start printing now, and we'll just figure out how to transition into it later.
Yeah.
You know,
or just like toss them in the middle of some montage.
Yeah, well, we do that too. It's harder when it involves talking and it's not just a montage.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the last video where we did that, but
I don't know.
We try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actual like process of editing is really just me at my computer digging through our like library of collected assets, like music and sound effects and graphics that we've made and stuff, and just rewatching clips over and over and over again, because I have to rewatch it like 20 times to make sure I cut it just at the right point.
Yeah. But like it's crazy too, because if you look at the rough cuts that we used to do, because I think now we've gone away from rough cuts. You used to kind of drop everything and do a rough cut, tighten it even more, and then add the special effects and funny things and sound effects. Now you go to like a 90% edit.
I do.
Right away.
I do. Are we still in day of the life, or is this morphed into a like filming and editing
tips?
And
editing tips. Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's move on from editing.
Okay. I do want to talk about it more in the future, but I think we had that planned as a future podcast.
Maybe. Okay.
Where you were going to interview me about editing?
Yeah. That's a good idea. Again.
That was your idea.
That's a good idea, me. I'm patting my back for
just
anyone
so
who
we're staying on track.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on to launch day, which is like such either the best day or a really sad day.
Yeah, launch day is amazing or soul crushing. And by launch day, we mean like video launch day.
It's Friday.
We've called it launch day ever since we were launching our channel.
Yeah.
And since then, every video release is launch day.
Launch day. And
launch day.
And now that we're doing the podcast, we try to do the podcast today too, because launch day is generally well, sometimes a chiller day. I don't know. yeah. I don't know. But launch day is good and soul crushing at times, because that's when we're judged.
It's judgment day.
It's judgment day, and it's the day of rewarding yourself for all your hard work by launching.
Yeah. So typically we try to have everything for a video done by Thursday at some point.
So we can just push the button on Friday.
But also not just so we can just push the button. Ever since we went through our like sprint of being demonetized over and over and over again, which happened fall of 2017, we got demonetized like 10 videos in a row for no real reason that we could find. We heard that if you upload your video, and I don't know if this is still true or ever was true, but if you upload your video beforehand, like 24 hours beforehand, it gives the algorithm bot time to crawl your video, and if it's going to flag it for demonetization, it'll happen then, and then you can appeal it or take it down and like try to retweak something if you know what it might be, and then you still have time to re-upload it, because otherwise, it's going to get demonetized when you release it, if you just upload it and release immediately. That's like the theory. So we always try, ever since then, uploading Thursday night. And it's also a lot less stressful than uploading Friday morning when you're launching
so
Friday.
Stressful. Which is what today was.
Yeah, no, we uploaded last night.
Oh, uploaded last night.
We were just up until like 1.
Oh, yeah. And then we were finishing all the metadata and everything this morning.
Yeah, we still had to finish like the thumbnail and the pot and the closed captions and metadata and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think the immediate feedback that you get on launch day is interesting, and I think that we should maybe do like a full podcast on the whole like instant feedback of social media in general, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah,
it's like it's nice and it's crushing. Yeah, I think we've said like 5 times, but
yeah.
Oh, like today was a mix of it. Like, when we first launched, it was, we look at how the video we just launched is doing in proportion to all of the past videos.
Yeah, YouTube Studio tells you how it compares to other videos at the same point in its life. So at hour 1, how it compares to your past 10 videos. Yeah. At day 2, how it compares to your past 10 videos.
Yeah, and when we first launched, it was number 4 in the ranking, and we were like, okay, that's okay. And then it dropped to 6, and we were like, And now it's up to number 1. So it's like, yay, roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, it really is. And launch day is totally different from all our other days. All other days, it's a mixture of editing, filming, emails, behind the scenes stuff. Launch day is like 100% do all of the pre-launch to-dos, which are like the video should already be uploaded and all the metadata filled out and all that stuff. But we launch the video, we we launch the after show to Patreon.
Yeah.
We try to remember to pin a comment. We basically go into like comment zone because there's such a huge influx on launch day.
Yeah.
And we
it's just hours replying to people.
Hours of replying to comments. So many comments.
And because it's like a 1 to 22 or 220,000 person relationship. Sorry, that didn't work.
It's a lot of people sending comments and only 2 of us replying.
Yeah,
and it's super fun and it's like addicting. You get to refresh and it's like, oh, new comments, yay! But then it's like you can't keep up with them, and you can't just literally spend the whole day replying to them because then nothing else gets done. But we do spend a lot more time replying to comments on launch day. Usually,
we take turns sometimes.
Yeah, we take turns sometimes. And we usually try with comments to only not to put too much extra time into replying to them, even though we do try to reply to all of them. We try to do it when it's like, oh, I'm cooking something and I don't need my hands right now, so I'll reply to a few comments.
Or something's rendering or something's
rendering, yeah. But launch day is like comment and input heavy.
Yeah. But I think that those are our main really types of days. There's the planning, filming, editing, launch, and that's the majority of our days. Like 6 out of 7 of our days are like that. If not 7 out of 7 are primarily one of those.
Well,
every now and then.
7 is launch day, and the other 6 are like a mix of everything else.
Yeah. And then sometimes if we're far enough ahead, we'll try to take a rest day, which is kind of like catch up on life and miscellaneous to-dos.
Well, rest day is like cleaning the house. And going grocery shopping. That's a rest day, like taking the car to the shop.
Okay, but I think that let's try to run through like an actual typical day.
Okay.
In like the ideal mix for us. So,
I think an actual typical day.
Oh, actual typical day?
Because ideal mix is different.
You start with what you think is our typical day, and then I'll chime in.
Okay, so I wake up at 8, and I get out of bed immediately because the supervisor she's the kitty alarm.
And she demands her special food.
I give her a treat every morning, which is probably, well, she would wake me up every morning even before the treats. So I did something much earlier to spoil her. But so I'll get up, get supervisor a treat, and then I usually go to the computer and start poking around on emails and maybe replying to some comments and doing stuff that doesn't require too much brain power. If there's an edit that I'm stressed about, I go straight into editing mode early in the morning, which is always kind of rough for your brain.
And then I'll usually join in shortly after.
Shortly
after. And I usually start with like looking through emails, looking through anything that's built up, seeing if there's any urgent things in the day, looking at our to-do list. And most mornings we spend the morning kind of tackling some miscellaneous things.
Yeah, it's usually like computer productives in the mornings.
Yeah.
Even on days where we're like, we're going to get up early and start, like the first thing we'll do is filming. But it's really hard to film straight in the morning. I don't know about you. For me, honestly, the thing that makes it the hardest is that I have to put on makeup. And I just do not want to put on makeup in the morning. I just want to be comfy. I don't want to put stuff on my face.
You said your eyes are the most bothersome, right?
The other stuff doesn't bother me at all. Mascara is the worst. It's literally the worst.
The worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate mascara. That's why I don't wear it.
Yeah, that's why I'm not wearing it right now. But usually after lunch is when we start doing our main thing of the day, which is like. Yeah, I feel like we're always like, hey, it's 2. Remember when we said we were going to start filming in the morning?
Yeah.
I mean, I do editing in the morning sometimes, so that's still like a main thing. But we usually don't start filming until after lunch somehow.
Yeah. Well, it's like the filming is like a tough thing to do in the morning, like you said. And sometimes we'll do planning or supplies or like, editing, like
or we'll
you said.
Film like a quick scene if it's just like, oh, we got to get this thing drying, so let's film it real quick.
Yeah.
But then like, let's go back to comfy, like computer productives.
Yeah. And that usually goes until dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We take a break for dinner and usually we either like probably half, 1/3 of the time we go out, 2/3 we cook in.
I mean,
depends on how bad the week is.
There's some weeks where we eat out a lot more.
Ideally, we'd eat in almost every meal.
Yeah, we really like cooking, and
we're good at it.
I'm biased, but I think we're good at it. And so we would like to eat in more, but it's hard to find time to go to the grocery store. It's hard to find time to cook sometimes. Some weeks, like the past 2 weeks, have been particularly crazy.
Yeah.
But usually what we'll do, around the time that we're at dinner, I'm ready for like a brain break. And to me, dinner is like, I just got to put on a podcast and cook something. And it's like,
it's your break.
It's my break. It's literally my break. And so unless it's crunch time or like crunch time in terms of editing, then I'll stay at the computer and you'll make dinner.
If it's editing time, usually I'll take on like
all the other miscellaneous.
all the miscellaneous things and free Katelyn up 100% to take on edits.
Yeah, and it's usually whatever the most urgent thing is. So whatever the bottleneck is, the other person will take on everything else. So one person can focus on the bottleneck.
Yeah.
So like when it's editing, so that I can focus 100% on editing and like finish that up, since that's the bottleneck. Evan will do everything else.
Run interference for you.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, don't look at socials, don't look at emails.
I got this.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll usually like either be editing or working on videos or doing computer productives until dinner, and then I'll usually take a break to make dinner, and then I mean, I feel like we get a second wind after dinner, and we get a lot done from like after dinner until like 10.
11.
Yeah. 11.
I mean, let's be honest here.
That's like one of our most productive times.
Yeah.
I mean, usually in the evening, I prefer it if we're not in the shop, because sometimes like we start getting a little bit more tired.
The main thing is, if things are going well in the shop, it's okay. But if something goes wrong during that evening filming period, we just aren't able to deal with it as much.
Especially if it's like really late, especially if we've stayed up to finish the thing and get to a certain point.
And it doesn't get finished.
Yeah, and it doesn't get finished.
And then we're
that
like,
happened with this desk.
Oh gosh, what is life?
Yeah. And for a while, we got to a point where we would stop working at like 9 or 9:30 and take a little break for the rest of the evening. But we haven't been able to do that in like probably at least 6 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the evenings, I feel like we actually have a really hard time stopping working and going to bed. Like, if we're in the shop, I have a fine time stopping working. Yeah. I think because it's like, we're on our feet and we're more active and it's like more tiring. But if we're on the computer, like if I'm in an edit zone, it is often very hard for me to stop. Yeah. I could just edit until like into the wee hours.
Yeah.
that's kind of typical.
That's kind of typical.
And mixed within that is the stuff that's not as exciting to talk about. Yeah, like invoicing sponsors and reaching out to new sponsors and like planning what our like Instagram post is going to be. And
just keeping up with all of the social things. Like that's fun, but it's also a lot. We get to do
taxes soon.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's lots of like business behind the scenes.
Lots of research, lots of planning.
Yeah, or just like little tasks like I need to redo our badges for Twitch.
Yep.
Because like they don't show up enough. You know, there's like so many little things.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that the main questions that people have are like, how long does it take to film a video? How long does it take to edit a video? But those things are so difficult because we've never really sat down and just done one of those things, because there's no way to just do those and succeed the way we want to succeed, because it takes that full suite of things that we're doing in order to succeed to the level that we want.
It would be hard to neglect everything else to do one thing all in a single chunk. I mean,
but even like if like what I was saying is like if we don't do the other things at all.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what people are asking. I think it's like subtract out the other things. How long does the edit take? How long does filming take?
That'd be messy.
I would say I feel like I have a guess.
Are you gonna put it like in hours?
No, like days.
Days? Okay.
And within these days, there are like some other productives going in. But I feel like if I have all the footage for a video, I can edit it in 2.5 days.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like ideally, I wouldn't be editing for 2.5 days straight. It'd be a little footage, a little editing, a little footage, a little editing. And it may not take a full 2.5 days. I may think it's longer than it is because typically, you know, we are taking breaks to do other things like respond to emails and do socials and go shopping for supplies and stuff. So it might not take quite that long. It used to take me a solid like 5 days, but we were working and I was doing it in the evenings.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as fast also.
Yeah. I think for how long does it take to because for us, it's like, how long does it take to film a video? But that also means like do a whole project. And if we were just doing the project, it would probably take a lot less time.
Like half to a third of the time.
The project plus filming adds a lot, you know? But I think generally, I mean, it varies so much depending on the scope of the project. I mean, some we've finished the whole project in 1 day, and some it's taken us like 7 days or more to finish the project.
I think the interesting thing is because filming is a factor and because filming adds so much time, the amount of days a project takes isn't really dependent on, I mean, this is a slight factor, but it's not fully dependent on how big the project is.
That's true.
So sometimes we might have something that physically is bigger and more complicated, but we don't spend as much time filming it because it's maybe a lot of repeated tasks. So for example, doing like the Murphy bed built-ins.
Yep.
That was big. And there's a decent amount going on, but it was a lot of repeated measuring and cutting and caulking and painting.
And we were pretty efficient at that point. I mean, we a lot of times would do some together things, and then Katelyn would come in and edit that together while I got some additional B-roll and worked on sanding and cutting and trimming and stuff.
Yeah, and so like that project, which is significantly like pretty big, you know, it's like a wall of custom cabinetry.
Yeah.
That probably took less time of active like filming than our wall clocks that we just released today, because that was a lot of, we're going to experiment together. We're going to film everything.
Well, we certainly captured probably more footage.
We did, but I think like it maybe took longer of actual like, well, the supervisor just threw up. We heard it.
Clean up on aisle. Us.
Let's pause. And we're back after that very exciting break. I'm looking at you. She's right here.
She's right there, and she's gone.
But yeah, I just think it's interesting that like sometimes bigger projects that have more repetitive tasks that are less interesting take less filming time.
Yeah, that's truth. It is interesting.
Yeah, so like a tiny, more crafty project might take just as long to film and do the project as something bigger?
Yeah. So those are hard questions to answer, but typically I'd say we get through one project every we get through one project faster than 7 days, because if it took us 7 days to do it on average, would be like slowly slipping behind and falling behind schedule, which we kind of have been recently.
Yeah.
But in general, let's generalize and say that the entire thing ranges from 3 to 7 days with an average of 4. Or maybe
the entire
5.
thing for the project or the video?
Yeah, like for the entire start to finish of the video.
Okay, it's the project and video, not just making
project and video, like not taking all the extra.
Yeah,
like,
4 to 7 days.
4 to 7 days,
which is why we've been slowly eating up our lead.
Yep. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the main thing is that we're going to try to do to become more sustainable, doing this long term, is I think that we might just need to every now and then,
take a break every now and then.
Every now and then. We've been talking about it, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it in a week.
Yeah, we have. Well, not next week, but the next week. We're going to take a break. And by take a break, we mean...
yeah, we're going to work just as much.
Yeah, we're going to be working.
But we're
just
be getting
not releasing.
ahead, and it'll be less stressful. Oh, dang, I did this again. I think the last question is how do you find the time and stay disciplined about the schedule?
Yeah.
And I think that part of it is just we're committed.
Yeah.
We've committed to sponsors.
I think that's kind of related to a question we got on Twitter, which is about how do we create projects so quickly? I think that's related to the discipline.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, we have to.
So it's part of that is choosing a project that's within the scope of what you're capable of. For this desk, it might have been fun or more interesting in some ways to, instead of doing a T-slot aluminum framing, structural aspect of this, it's if we had done everything out of wood with finger joints and tapers and angles and everything, but that's
we could have done it
feasible,
but not in a week.
Yeah. So having the structure being able to be completed within 15 minutes, that's a big part of the planning that goes into this. Planning the scope of the projects to be able to fit within that time frame that we have. And
sometimes that doesn't mean that bigger projects don't get done. It either just means that we plan to build up a lead so that we have more time to devote to a bigger project, or one thing we've done in the past is we break that project into multiple parts.
Yeah.
So for example, our geode table.
Well, no, the Murphy bed is a better example of breaking things into two parts. The Murphy bed, we literally did the frame and then the cabinets, but the resin geode is interesting because it was a learning experience, a learning
That's
build.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess they're both good examples, but we broke them up for slightly different reasons.
Yeah. So for the Murphy bed, we literally broke it up for physical reasons because that was a large physical thing to take on. But I think that if we had have just jumped straight to the resin geode table, we would have had to explain so much. We would have had to go through so much
That's true.
experimentation and everything. And the video would have been too long. And then trying to edit it down would have stank because we'd be cutting good things. And
that's true.
And would be experimenting with things for the first time, which is difficult.
So we broke that one into 3 videos, which the first one was experimenting with resin for the first time.
Yeah.
The next one was how to do a resin geode. And then the final one was doing a resin geode table.
Yeah.
Where there was lots more complication involved.
Yeah. And we were able to say, if you want to look at if you want to watch us just experimenting with epoxy, look at this episode. And if you want to see the resin geode that we made, look here.
Yeah.
This one is about, the new things. So we were able to gloss over a lot of things, over a lot of talking and stuff, and that would have added a lot of time otherwise.
Yeah, and that makes the filming easier, the edit easier, the project easier when it's broken up into those parts. And so I think that's one way to do finish a thing in a week, because you just split it in 2.
Yeah. What's crazy is looking back over these past 2 years, it's you'd hope that we're more on top of our schedule, and we are.
We just keep adding to it, though.
In some very small ways, but we do keep on adding to it. That's probably the main thing.
We're you finally quit your consulting. We were both officially full time, and then a couple months later, we were we should really do the podcast.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we're while we're doing a podcast, we should start streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've also like, social media replies take longer. Replying to comments takes longer.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with sponsors takes longer because there's more sponsors. It's all good things, but also the scope of what we have to deal with is a lot more. We've added merch and we have to support that and make sure that our customers are getting a good experience. It's everything is scaling.
Yeah. So I think we are getting more time efficient,
but we're also adding more
stuff. Yeah. But I think like in terms of scheduling, getting projects completed quickly, all that stuff, it's having sponsors definitely helps because then we have like a responsibility to put something out in a certain time frame.
Manner, yeah.
But even before that, I felt like we were like pretty good about it. And I think it was just we told ourselves that like putting stuff on YouTube is not an easy thing to do if you're trying to especially if you're trying to do it as a job. And when we first started talking about doing a channel, our hope was that it would become a job. So we went into it with the expectation of like, this isn't going to be easy work. We're probably going to be working way more than we do at our 9-to-5s.
Yeah.
And we went into it with that mindset, and we were still excited to do it, and we accepted the time commitment. And I think that's just something you have to do, is accept that it's going to take a long time and just make yourself do it. And if you can't
just pretend like that's your full-time job.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
yeah. Because also back then we weren't getting the rewards of it being a full-time job.
No. And I think
it's like we were getting like pennies.
Yeah, well, and not many views.
Yeah, not many views and like no income.
Yeah, but like I feel like we still put a similar amount of pressure on ourselves to like release things regularly and put out content that we were proud of. And I think it's just you just have these expectations that start out internally, and then it grows to an audience that you don't want to let down, and sponsors you don't want to let down. And it's still a big part of it's still internal for us, but we just keep ourselves on that schedule, and we just work a lot to make it happen. There's a lot of work.
Well, until it's game time.
Ding, 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 ding. What a good segue into game time. We've been chatting for a while, so it probably is good. But we definitely will, if you guys have further questions on kind of day-to-day stuff, doing a YouTube channel, making things, let us know
in the comments.
We can talk about this more. There's
so much more. So much more. We could break a lot of these into their own segments.
Yeah.
All right.
Game time.
All right. So in this game, we're actually inspired by another podcast.
The Jenna Julian podcast.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. We're big fans of Jenna and Julian. They play a lot of games. They're a huge inspiration for our podcast. And today we are going to play one of the games that they played, and it's actually like a board game. Well, it's not a board game, a card game you can buy, and it's called Obama Llama.
So basically what you're trying to do is there's two things that rhyme, and we're going to take turns giving each other clues of what that rhyme is, and we're going to have to guess it. Normally there's like at least 4 people,
and there's timer.
Teams, and there's a timer and stuff.
Well,
we're just going to like read these prompts and see if they're funny.
And also it's all the rhymes have like some kind of person from pop culture, and then like a thing that it rhymes with.
Yeah. I have the perfect one to start with.
Great. Okay, let's do it.
All right. The star of Pitch Perfect and Into the Woods is glancing over Herman Melville's famous book about a whale.
Oh, I know this one.
Okay.
I know this one because they answered it in the Jenna Julian podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're cheating.
Yeah. And wait, what was the middle part? I know the 2 rhymes.
Okay. The star of Pitch Perfect and Into the Woods is glancing over Herman Melville's famous book about a whale.
Anna Kendrick reads Moby Dick.
Yep.
Okay, but that's like the premise. See, it's like a person from pop culture.
That didn't count. You cheated. Using previous knowledge. Okay. Oh, I have a new one.
Okay.
Girl detective who hung out with the Hardy Boys is making the noise of a ghost.
You're going to need to go to a different card because I know this one from Jenna Julian too. It's Nancy Drew Says Boo.
Dang it. Okay, I'm going to have to like shuffle this a little bit because this is just cheat. This is cheat sheet.
They didn't do that many. I don't know how the first two you picked. They must have been reading from the same card.
Yeah, the cards must be in the same order on every pack.
That was just the
and
one
they
on
just
top.
pulled out the one on top, just like we did.
Okay.
I didn't look at any of them. It's my turn. You're gonna quiz me.
Okay. I'm gonna do another one.
yeah. Wait and like shuffle it until it's something funny or interesting or something that I might know. Like 'cause if it's a person I don't know, it's just gonna be boring.
C-3PO's buddy has a very bad winter cold.
R2D2 has a flu.
Yeah, I gave you an
so
easy
cute.
one. Okay. Batman's alter ego enjoys reading books by the author of Huckleberry Finn.
Bruce Wayne
Loves
Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Yay! I was like,
good.
I was wondering what middle word to use, but sure.
Yeah, that was it.
Sweet.
Bruce Wayne loves Mark Twain.
What? Oh,
was it.
I was like reads Mark Twain or what? You know?
You're right. I didn't even think about the middle words being like kind of the most difficult part.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving you.
Yeah, I mean, like as long as the first and the second match, in general, I think we win.
Yeah.
Or we get a point.
I'm giving you kind of easy ones right now. I'm going to give you one more easy, and then I'm going to give you a hard one. Okay. X-Men character with blades in his hand is consuming a legume.
Wolverine. What's a legume?
Or is it legume or legume?
Is it a bean? Is it a broccoli? Is it? Oh, it's a bean. It's a bean. Wolverine eats a bean. Yeah.
Okay.
This is fun.
This is okay. Transformers and Ninja Turtles actress is making shapes with a baby's wooden cubes.
What?
I'm giving you a hard one now.
Megan Fox plays with blocks?
Yeah.
Whoa!
You know who Megan Fox is?
I am
really
pop
bad.
culture, man. I know the pop cultures.
Evan's like really bad.
I'm really
usually.
bad with pop culture.
I mean, I'm pretty bad
the
too, but
funny
you're
thing
worse.
is, I started with blocks, and I'm like, what rhymes with blocks? Megan Fox.
Yeah. Okay. Mythical Greek strongman talks in the language of the land of the rising sun.
Hercules speaks Chinese.
Close.
Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah, rising sun. Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay.
You gotta
I give you easy
prove
ones.
your worth.
I give you really easy ones, except for the Megan Fox.
Giant gorilla is wearing underwear to prevent showing his panty line.
King Kong wears the thong.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's just funny to say.
It's a very big thong.
I don't know who these people are. Okay. Very fat Star Wars villain is trying to crack the hard brown fruit of the palm tree.
Jabba the Hutt cracks a coconut.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so this is the easy mode right here, where it tells you the prompt and then the answer. Should we try one where we try to make up our own prompt?
Yeah.
Because that is next level difficult.
Okay. Yeah, hard mode is where you you just said it, where you make up your own prompt. Are you ready?
We'll find out soon.
Oh, so you shuffled them.
Well, because we don't want cheating with Jenna Julian's special knowledge. Okay. Cartoon character with power over a solar body consumes a wrinkly fruit.
Power over a solar body?
Celestial body?
A solar body is like a solar
an
is like
earthbound
a sun.
body.
And he eats a fruit.
That's
Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon eats a fruit?
Yeah! Yeah!
That
It's pretty good. I think I did good.
You did good.
Okay. I know one. He who must not be named is in a room with a judge.
Voldemort goes to court.
Yeah! This is fun too. It's really fun making up your own. Okay, your turn.
Okay.
Quiz me. Prompt me. And then judge me.
Okay. A guy that sings like this is moving his butt.
Elvis moves his pelvis?
Yeah, Elvis wiggling his pelvis.
Well, see, you cheated though. You said guy who sings like this, moves his
Oh, am I
things
not
like
supposed
this.
to sing?
No, but well, you used singing and you moved.
Oh, well, you sang the Sailor Moon song.
Yeah, that's because you were just struggling.
Okay. I'll try not to cheat. Okay. I
think when I shuffled them, I flipped them
they're
and they're all
in
backwards.
Okay. A cartoon elephant eats the thing we ate for dinner tonight.
Jumbo eats a gumbo?
Jumbo?
Dumbo eats gumbo. Dang, that's a tongue twister. What did I say? Jumbo eats a jumbo?
He said Jumbo eats a jumbo. You got it the second time. Jumbo eating gumbo.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay. Mom's spaghetti is
Eminem.
fixing. Well, you got is fixing the edge of your clothing.
Eminem fixes a hem.
Sewing a hem.
Sews a
Yeah.
hem. I like how you just said mom's spaghetti. As like because you knew I was gonna get it. But,
Yeah,
like you didn't say like a white rapper that
from
has
the
a
early
name
2000s
that also is similar to a candy.
Okay, yeah, I guess. Okay.
No, but like it totally worked. That's
Yeah.
impressive. You just know me in
Yeah,
my head.
I just know you. Just mom's spaghetti. Okay. Drag queen, famous drag queen, is attending a fancy party.
RuPaul goes to a ball?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you did good.
Thank you. My turn.
Oh.
It's fun making it up, right?
We haven't been very good about keeping score. You guys will just have to tell us who won at the end.
Yeah. Let's see.
Do some hard ones.
A singer from California enlists in a fighting force.
There's a lot of singers from California.
She's a California girl
She enlists in a what?
in a fighting force.
Is it something with Katy Perry? Katy Perry enlists in a fighting force. Katy Perry.
It's a stretch of a rhyme. Think of the armed forces.
So there's like, as Katy Perry joins the military.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
that's a stretch.
That's a stretch.
That's a stretch. Obama llama.
That's a stretch of llama. Okay. A childhood cartoon character that loves honey is doing fighting moves.
Winnie the Pooh does kung fu.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, this is really hard. I'm going to challenge myself. You ready?
Okay.
A furry Star Wars character is in a relationship with a furry human animal.
Ewok dates or Chewbacca dates
You're on the right track.
what's the second part?
A furry animal that lives in the mountains. So one of our friends has
Chewbacca
one.
dates an alpaca?
Yeah. That was a pretty challenging one, right?
That's
right?
pretty good.
Because like, how would you ever guess that?
Yeah. I mean, I did. This is kind of hard because you also have to know the person being the reader.
Yeah. It needs to be an understanding on both ends. Okay. A rapper with a name based around currency
50 Cent.
is laying down a mix of materials.
50 Cent pour cement.
Yeah. But like the funny thing is, this bothers me as a maker because it says he's laying cement. Cement is one element within concrete. Now that is just improper making right there because
We'll leave it to 50 Cent.
Cement would not hold up well.
Okay. Another rapper that loves himself is
That loves himself?
that loves himself very much is he's doing something that will result in him getting a permit to be on the road.
What?
Think of the rapper that loves himself the most.
All of them?
This one in particular. There's like memes about it. And he's
Kanye West does a driving test?
Yeah.
Okay, as soon as you said memes, I was like, I think I know where this is going.
A female singer that has a very high-pitched voice. There might be a conspiracy around her voice being high-pitched. Is purchasing things on vacation to bring back home.
Britney Spears goes to Sears.
No, you don't go to Sears when you're on vacation.
Britney Spears.
She's purchasing things to bring back home. What are those things?
Tourist traps?
She's buying tourist traps.
Britney Spears buys souvenirs. Hey, but goes to Sears.
I mean,
that also might work.
Probably.
What if she's going on vacation in the middle of the United States?
Is that
where there's just lots of Sears? I don't know. I'm making up excuses.
I'm sure Britney goes to Sears on her vacations.
I think that we might need to call it, because we kind of went long on our main thing. Caitlin's still looking at the cards, shuffling through them. Save it.
Okay.
Save it.
Okay, we'll play some more.
This game again. I think that we need to next time come up with a winner and loser scenario.
Oh, so there's higher stakes?
Higher stakes. And now I think it's hard because part of I think that making it up yourself is really fun, but having it made up for you is more fair. So I think what we can do is we can have a 1 minute round each, and we see how many we can get through. And the best of 5 rounds of 5 minutes wins.
Yeah, and then we have to come up with some kind of stakes.
Yeah.
The loser has to talk in a falsetto voice for the rest of the podcast.
Oh, well, that's no problem at all.
That's super easy.
Is falsetto high?
Yeah. It's super easy.
It's super easy.
That's the low-pitched voice.
Oh no.
Huh?
No. Hi.
I don't know how to do this anymore.
Well, now we're just in the low pitch.
Is this how we're going to do our thing of the week?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
There it
That's
is.
what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, we'll spare you guys. I just have to do that every now and then.
I love it so much.
It's just so fun.
So good.
It's just it's just so pleasurable to my ears. I don't know. It sounds weird to say, but it's
a very weird way to put it.
I don't know how else to say it. That's the most accurate thing.
Oh man.
Okay, here you do your thing of the week, because I do not have a thing of the week
Okay,
yet.
I have a thing of the week. You can jump in on this one too, because I know it's probably your thing of the week too, if you thought about it. The Spider-Verse movie.
Oh my
So freaking
gosh,
good.
you guys!
So freaking good. We don't watch very many movies, but this.
But we've heard so much about this that it just was on our radar, and we've wanted to do it, and we're gonna watch it again. We don't watch too many movies again, but we are certainly gonna watch it again.
Yeah, just the style of it was so cool, and it had such a cool aesthetic, and felt like you were watching a live comic book. It was so cool. It was funny,
it was amazing,
and it was a cool story.
But also, I mean, there is not at all a single point where I thought I was wasting my time. The whole movie,
the whole thing was
great.
It was so good.
Even if you were just watching it for the visual treat that the movie is, it was just so visually pleasing.
It was so good. I don't know how far behind we are. I mean, I think it came out relatively recently. I think we're only a little bit behind on recommending it or talking about it.
I've been hearing about it for a while.
Oh, well, it's new to us, and it was a really good movie.
Yes,
I really liked it.
I really liked it too. That was. It's already in my top certain number of movies.
It's a very vague way to say that you like it a lot.
You can't choose I can't choose a number top 5. That makes it impossible. Top 10, that's really hard. I think it might be in the top 15.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if I can give things a top. I just think it's funny that you say my top certain number, because that could be top 100.
Top 100. That'd be a lame list. Unless you watch a lot of movies and you have a lot of things to say about them. But I think for a normal person, it's if it's in your top certain number that's not unreasonable, that's a pretty good recommendation.
Yeah.
Because if you think about of your entire life, how many movies you watched, and for it to be in the top, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a separate thing of the week, or you just want to jump in?
Oh,
You just have that
no.
one as a
I mean,
share?
I just have my like YouTube watch history up. I'm thinking about gadgets. I'm like, what do I do?
Panic.
I think my thing of the week might actually be alcoholing.
You're going to say alcohol?
Surprise! We're
Surprise.
alcoholics. No, I think that
We're alcoholics.
alcoholics. Not to make light of a serious
No.
thing that people.
No, that is very serious. We
Yeah.
don't want to make light of it.
But I think that like whatever material we tackle the most recently and whatever like our brains are kind of going wild on, it's like that's what sticks in my head a little bit. And I'm already thinking of new alcoholing projects, new things I want to try.
You can set it on fire.
Yeah, that's pretty much the main thing I want to do. I want to do alcohol ink art and set it on fire.
One thing that I think that's cool about alcohol inks, and our 2 clocks that we came up are kind of, the visual representation of this, but you can make them look like watercolor, or you can make them look like resin.
Yeah,
You know?
They're very versatile. They're very cheap. They're very easy. They're nice and abstract. And I think as long as you don't mess up your color wheels too much,
Green and red.
they're not that hard to accomplish something interesting with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another thing is like what you do it on is so cheap. It's so cheap. So I
Yeah.
think it's just like such an interesting thing. And if any of you guys haven't seen our latest YouTube video, we got some tiles from our like local tile place.
Yeah, some like 12-inch hexagon
And
tiles.
for this like 12-inch canvas, it was $2.
Yeah.
If you went to Michael's, you couldn't find canvases that cheap.
No, you literally couldn't get a canvas
couldn't.
that cheap. Yeah.
So it's like the canvas is super cheap. It's very forgiving. If you want to, you can just take baby wipes or pour alcohol on it again and wipe the whole thing off.
Yes.
It's really easy to restart. The alcohol inks themselves are really cheap and go a long way.
A long way.
It's just really, really interesting because I think that art is fun and people should try it out. And this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, like if you want to create cool abstract art for your house, this is a really easy way to do it because there's a certain amount of chaos built into alcohol inks. Like by chaos, I guess I mean more like unpredictability.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna end up doing things on its own that you couldn't really purposefully create. If you just took like a palette of acrylic paint and tried to paint it, it would be much harder than just like dropping some alcohol in a thing and seeing what it does.
So I'm already having like tons of ideas for the next time we do this. I already want to do it again. I just want to do it right now. Partially that's because it's fun, but also it's like I always get this like urge to like jump on something before like someone else does it.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
Yeah. I think, I feel that too. That's why our idea list grows so much faster than we can actually complete projects.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
We'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Well, I think that takes us to the end of our episode.
Yeah.
It was really fun doing another like full, just normal episode because
That was fun.
it's so much fun to just like generally chat with you, get distracted. This wasn't at all what either of us
We went on
planned
some tangents.
for the episode, but it's great to just like chat.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you guys for hanging out with
And
or-
good chatting with
are we,
you.
Oh, we're shaking hands.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's good
Good chatting.
podcast.
Good job.
Good job. Good job.
Co-worker husband.
Thanks for tuning in. If you leave us a 5-star review, we will send you 10 virtual high fives and 2 internet points. If you share it with a friend, you get 5 cat high fives,
She
which are
just walked
extra
by
rare.
right as you said that. That's
And-
a sign that she was confirming that's true.
Yes, that's true. And I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, welcome to the Evan and Katelyn podcast, the podcast where every day is casual Friday.
I like mine better.
Okay, we'll stick with yours.